very few of us actually want a pile of money. We want, as you said, freedom, optionality, choices, the ability to say yes to this and no to that, not because it's a question of keeping the lights on or not, but is this aligned for me? And so it gives us a more intentional way of interacting with money. So we're already partway through the challenges that some people in the rest of world bucket, are still struggling with because we are making more aligned decisions. But the challenge then comes in for those of us who are very heart led. We can often feel conflicted when it comes to how do I charge for what I do? How many people have you heard say, I'd actually do this for nothing, because I love it. And we often feel like that, especially if we've got a healing aspect to what we do. So I find naturopaths and physiotherapists and even some medical doctors, also people who work in sort of spiritual spaces, they often really struggle to charge appropriately for what they deliver to the world because it's a calling. And so how do you price in a monetary sense this almost energetic, esoteric wonder that you bring to the world? And so it can feel a little bit challenging in there to bring that back to the business needs to be sustainable. You need to charge your worth so that you can continue to bring these gifts to the world. But the conflict can sometimes sit in there for people who are very heart-led in what it is that they bring to the world and what the business delivers.
Yeah, that's a very common initial mindset around money with our community members because I think a lot of us grew up being told that we couldn't be creative in our career, and specifically, we couldn't be a writer because we would never make enough money and we would never be able to support ourselves in that. I think what happens a lot of the time is we have that self-awareness, we grow, and we realize that money doesn't matter as much as we thought it did. And then maybe we decide we're going to make a whole bunch of compromises and become a writer anyway because we want to do that. But we do that under the guise that we cannot sustain ourselves financially doing that. And maybe we have to have a secondary income or, downsize our house or whatever it may be. And that's not the case. It's a good starting point to say, okay, well, I'm in this for the right reasons because I want to be a writer and I want to make this my reality. But then it's just adding in the layers of, well, why not? Why not get paid for this? It is valuable. What does that value look like? And starting to challenge some of those ideas around what is valuable and what is not valuable. What are people willing to pay for and what are people not willing to pay for, which is such a subjective thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the artist community, and be they visual artists, be they theatrical and musical artists, be they writers, I feel are in such a difficult position because the world has told them from the ages of 7 to 12 that you can't make money doing this because somebody somewhere along the line decided that you couldn't. There are plenty of examples in our world of people who in those industries have actually built quite successful careers and have done incredibly well for themselves financially. And yet those myths perpetuate. And so, as you say, we shrink so that we can fit within what society tells us is achievable in that space, but we give up on a lot in the process. So if you look now at that sort of subconscious level, what have you been told as a younger person? And therefore, what do you now believe to be true? I believe writers can't make enough money to sustain themselves. Okay, well then that will be your reality because, you will then make decisions and interact with the world in a way that then perpetuates this belief that you've internalized at a very deep level. And this is where some people, I think, say, oh, the mindset work gets, a bit woo-woo and esoteric. And I would argue against that and say, instead of it being a spiritual happening, it's rather we're always making decisions in every moment. And so if you've come to believe that it's not sustainable to be a writer, then you are going to make decisions that reflect your belief that writing is not a sustainable career or business move for you. And so it's less about the esoteric and more about the practical day-to-day decision making that you are doing that reflects that belief, which is something that you heard, which is something that you believe to be true at a very young age, which you are then perpetuating in your business as an adult, dealing with larger sums of money than the pocket money you dealt with at 8 years old when you were told, writers can't support themselves and their families. So, it does become a perpetuation of the same cycle and those myths.